You're not kind, you're conflict avoidant. There's a difference, and it's costing you. Your boundaries don't exist if you don't enforce them. And right now, you're not enforcing. They won't. Here's the uncomfortable bit. Most people don't have boundaries. They have guidelines, preferences, polite requests they'd rather not make. And then they wonder why everyone treats them like a doormat with a welcome sign. A boundary isn't a boundary if it bends, if it comes with exceptions, if it requires explanation, justification, or apology. I'd rather not, but if you really need me to, I'm kind of busy, but I suppose I could. I don't really want to, but I don't want to seem rude. That's not a boundary. That's negotiation. And you're negotiating from a position of weakness with people who have already decided your comfort doesn't matter. This isn't about becoming cold or selfish or setting boundaries like a boss babe. This is about understanding that boundaries without enforcement are just wishful thinking with better marketing. By the end of this, you'll understand why your kindness is being weaponized, why no doesn't require a paragraph of justification, and why the people who get angry at your boundaries are exactly the people who need them most. No fluff. No boundaries are self-care platitudes, just the reality nobody wants to say out loud. If you've ever said yes when you meant no and spent the next 3 hours resenting yourself, if you've ever written a 5-paragraph essay explaining why you can't do something, then done it anyway. If you've ever been called selfish for prioritizing your own mental health over someone else's convenience, you already know your boundaries don't exist. You're just hoping someone will give you permission to enforce them. Consider this permission. We're told that kindness means saying yes, that being a good person means being available, accommodating, understanding, that boundaries are selfish, that prioritizing yourself makes you difficult. It's remarkable, really. We've been conditioned to believe that self-preservation is a character flaw, that setting limits makes you cold, uncaring, not a team player. Meanwhile, the people violating your boundaries, they're not being called selfish, they're just assertive, knowing what they want, going after it. Funny how that works. Your discomfort is expected, theirs is unacceptable. Your time is negotiable, theirs is sacred. Your boundaries are suggestions, theirs are laws. And here's the truly brilliant bit. We've rebranded people-pleasing as virtue. I just want to help. I don't want to let anyone down. I'd feel guilty if I said no. You're not helping, you're performing. And the performance is exhausting you, whilst convincing everyone else that you don't have limits, because you've never shown them you do. Every time you say yes when you mean no, you're teaching people that your boundaries are negotiable, that if they push hard enough, guilt trip effectively enough, you'll fold. And they're right, you will, not because you're kind, because you're terrified of conflict. Here's what nobody tells you. The people who respect your boundaries don't need to be told twice. They hear no, and they move on. No guilt tripping, no but why? No making you feel like a terrible person for having limits. The people who push back. The ones who get defensive, angry, hurt. Those are the people who were benefiting from your lack of boundaries. And now they're upset that the free service has been discontinued. They'll call you selfish. They'll say you've changed. That you're not the person you used to be. Good. You used to be a person with no boundaries. Now you're someone who's decided their comfort matters. That's not character assassination. That's growth. And the people invested in your lack of boundaries will always frame your growth as betrayal. Let's be uncomfortably specific. Your friend who only calls when they need something and gets upset when you're unavailable. They don't respect your boundaries. They resent them. Your family member who guilt trips you for not attending every gathering doesn't respect your time. They just expect compliance. The colleague who dumps last-minute work on you because you're so good at helping out. They're not complimenting you. They're exploiting your inability to say no. And the worst part? You know this already. You've known it for months. Years, maybe. You're just hoping that if you're kind enough, accommodating enough, they'll eventually respect your boundaries without you having to enforce them. They won't, because they don't have to. You've never required them to. Here's the reality. Boundaries without consequences aren't boundaries. They're suggestions. Please don't call me after 9 p.m. They call at 10 p.m. You answer, what did you just teach them? That your boundary was optional. I can't take on extra work right now. Here's the reality. Boundaries without consequences aren't boundaries. They're suggestions. Please don't call me after 9 p.m. They call at 10 p.m. You answer, what did you just teach them? That your boundary was optional. I can't take on extra work right now. They ask again with a sob story. You take it on. What did you just teach them? That your no means convince me. Boundaries require enforcement, and enforcement requires consequences, not punishments, not revenge, just follow through. I don't answer calls after 9 p.m. Don't answer. Actually don't. I can't take on extra work. Maintain it. Don't fold. The first time you enforce a boundary, people will test it. They'll push. They'll see if you meant it. And if you fold, you've just taught them that your boundaries are negotiable with sufficient pressure. You've convinced yourself that maintaining boundaries makes you unkind. That saying no makes you selfish. That prioritizing yourself makes you a bad person. But let's examine what your kindness is actually costing you. Your time, your energy, your mental health, your relationships with people who actually respect you, your self-respect. You're so busy being kind to people who don't respect you that you've got nothing left for the people who do. You're so accommodating to boundary violators that you're exhausted, resentful, and unavailable for people who wouldn't dream of pushing you. That's not kindness. That's self-destruction with better PR. And the people benefiting from it, they're not grateful. They're entitled because you've trained them to be. Here's the bit that stings the most. The people who love you don't want you to be a doormat. They don't want you exhausted. They don't want you resentful. They don't want you saying yes through gritted teeth whilst slowly dying inside. The people who love you want you to have boundaries because they want you healthy, present, actually enjoying their company instead of white-knuckling through another obligation. The people who get upset at your boundaries, they don't love you. They love your compliance. And the moment you stop complying, they'll show you exactly how conditional their affection always was. Your boundaries don't exist if you don't enforce them, not because people are inherently disrespectful, but because you've taught them that your limits are negotiable. Enforcement doesn't mean cruelty. It doesn't mean cutting people off or burning bridges. It just means say what you mean and mean what you say. No is a complete sentence. It doesn't require justification, explanation, or apology. I can't doesn't need to be followed by a 5-paragraph essay on why. I'm not available doesn't need to be softened with maybe next time, if there won't be a next time. Boundaries are kind to yourself and to others, because clear boundaries mean people know where they stand. There's no guessing. No resentment building beneath polite smiles, just honesty, which, ironically, is the actual foundation of kindness. You don't need better boundaries. You need to enforce the ones you already have. Stop explaining. Stop justifying. Stop softening your no with 10 cushions of apologetic language. No, I can't. That doesn't work for me. I'm not available. Complete sentences. No negotiation required. And when people push back, and they will, remember, their discomfort with your boundary is not your responsibility. You're not responsible for managing other people's emotions about your limits. You're responsible for maintaining them. And look, this is hard, especially if you've spent years being the person who never says no. People will be surprised, some will be upset, a few will disappear entirely. Let them, because the ones who stay, those are the ones who respected you all along. They were just waiting for you to respect yourself. You're not unkind for having boundaries. You're unkind to yourself for not enforcing them. Your comfort matters. Your time matters. Your mental health matters. And anyone who makes you feel guilty for believing that, they're exactly the reason you need boundaries in the first place. Subscribe if you've ever written a novel-length explanation for why you can't do something, then done it anyway. You're not selfish. You're just tired of being everyone's second choice whilst treating yourself like your last priority. Welcome to the Overthinking Department, where we've made peace with uncomfortable truths and unfiltered no's, filed under things your therapist wishes you'd learn faster.